All right, everyone get ready because today we are going deep, deep, deep into Men in Black.
Oh, yeah, a
A
classic.
true classic. And, listeners, you are obviously big fans, and I get it. It's got it all. Aliens, action, humor, like what's not to love, right?
Hmm.
So I am so ready to just dig into all these articles and reviews you sent over. Should be fun.
Yeah, and it's interesting because, Men in Black, when it came out, it wasn't just a hit. It was like this whole pop culture phenomenon.
For sure.
It was one of the biggest movies worldwide at the box office. But here's the thing, and this is what I find so fascinating. Ed Solomon, the screenwriter,
Yeah?
he said that Sony, despite how successful the film was, claims it never actually made a profit.
Really?
Yeah.
That's crazy. It was everywhere. I mean, those Ray-Bans,
I know.
the soundtrack, everyone was quoting, like, the sugar water line. I mean, come on. You'd think it would have been rolling in the dough.
Hollywood accounting, man. It's a strange, strange world.
Seriously.
But okay, so back to the movie itself. What I think is so interesting about Men in Black is that, you have this totally off-the-wall premise, right?
Right.
Secret organization, they, manage alien affairs here on Earth, but it's told in this very, classic B-movie kind of way.
Yeah, totally. It's got that kind of cheesy, fun vibe. But the thing is, the writing is really clever.
Exactly.
It's sharp. It's witty. So it's definitely, elevated B-movie for sure.
For sure. It's like they took the best parts of those classic B movies we all know and love, and then they just injected it with pure art house cinema DNA,
Okay.
And it created something really unique. I know it's like if you took Psycho and then you mix it with Easy Rider, but then you add aliens.
Okay. Yeah, that's an interesting combo.
Right.
I never would have put this together, but I see it. I see it, yeah. And maybe that's the secret sauce. Maybe that's why people love it so much.
It could be.
It's got that perfect balance of being funny and then, whoa, serious moments too. Like that scene, oh man, when Agent K is explaining, the whole deal about humanity to Agent J, and he uses cockroaches as an example.
Such a good scene. And that's a great example of how the movie can be hilarious, but then also deliver these really smart, kind of profound messages.
Right.
And speaking of Agent K, can you believe that they actually thought about Clint Eastwood for that role?
Wait, what?
Yeah.
Clint Eastwood as Agent K? Oh my gosh. I mean, that would have been a very different movie.
Completely different movie.
But Tommy Lee Jones is just chef's kiss.
Perfect.
Perfect. So gruff, so deadpan.
Exactly. Hard to imagine anyone else as Agent K now. Although, get this. Even Tommy Lee Jones wasn't so sure about the script at first.
No, really.
Yeah, he was a little hesitant. Apparently, what really sold him was that Spielberg was involved.
Oh, interesting. Okay, so if Clint Eastwood was almost Agent K, who else almost ended up in these iconic roles?
Oh, man. Okay, so get this. Barry Sonnenfeld's wife.
Yeah.
She's actually the reason why Will Smith got cast as Agent J. Yeah. She was a huge fan of The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air.
Okay.
And she saw something in Will Smith, beyond just the sitcom thing.
That's amazing. Shout out to Mrs. Sonnenfeld for having that vision.
Seriously. She deserves some credit for that, for sure.
For sure.
But it actually wasn't easy. It's crazy. The studio, their top pick for Agent J, Chris O'Donnell.
What?
Yeah. Fresh off, being Robin and Batman and Robin.
Oh, yeah.
That was their guy.
Wow.
Sonnenfeld really had to fight for Will Smith. I mean, he even convinced O'Donnell to turn down the part.
Wow, you're kidding. That is a serious sliding doors moment right there. It's hard to imagine anyone else but Will Smith as Agent J.
I know, right?
Crazy.
And it gets crazier because even David Schwimmer, he actually said that he regretted turning down the role of Agent J.
You're kidding me. Is there anyone who wasn't almost in Men in Black?
It seems like it, right?
Oh my gosh. Okay. But, speaking of unforgettable performances, we got to talk about Vincent D'Onofrio as the Bug.
Oh, he's so good.
So good and terrifying.
The best. He just completely disappears into that role.
Oh, yeah.
That awkwardness, that menace.
Ugh, especially that scene where he's trying to, fit himself into the farmer's skin.
So creepy.
I know. Pure nightmare fuel. Which, speaking of, did they actually use practical effects for that? Because I know Rick Baker, the special effects king, worked on this film.
You are correct. And you know what? They actually initially were going to use a full-size, animatronic puppet that Rick Baker designed for the Bug's final form.
Wait, seriously, a practical bug. Now that I would love to have seen.
Right.
That's amazing.
But ultimately, they decided to go with CGI for that scene.
Interesting. Well, I mean, even if they didn't use practical effects for everything, it's amazing how well the movie still holds up.
I know.
It's funny. It's got action. The story is clever. Like, take, for example, that scene where Agent J is in the testing montage with all the other potential MIB recruits. It is hilarious, but it also really shows us why Jay gets the job.
Absolutely. I think that scene is such a great example of how to do comedic character development, right?
Totally.
Like, in the surface, it's this really funny scene.
Yeah.
But you're right, it does so much more. It shows us Jay's resourcefulness, his ability to observe, the way he can think outside the box. Like, he doesn't just go with the obvious answer. And those qualities, even though they're presented in this humorous way, are exactly why he's perfect for the MIB. It really does. And you know what else is interesting? One of the articles you sent over mentioned that the original script for Men in Black was actually way darker.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And, like, way more serious.
Really?
It's true.
Huh. So, like, what was different?
Well, for one thing, the threat with the bug, it was, like, way bigger.
Okay.
Like, we're talking, like, intergalactic war level threat.
Whoa, okay. That's definitely not what we got in the final cut.
No, not at all.
So what happened? Why the change?
Well, it seems like they just decided to go in a different direction. I mean, they streamlined the story for sure and really put the focus on the relationship between J and K.
That makes sense.
And they grounded the conflict more in, like, a relatable kind of everyday context.
Yeah, I mean, less is more sometimes, right?
Right. Sometimes you got to kill your darlings.
Exactly. But still, I can't help but wonder, like, what would that darker Men in Black have looked like?
Totally.
Would it have been as big of a hit? Who knows?
Yeah, who knows, right? I mean, that's what's so cool about movies. There are always these, like, infinite possibilities, all these alternate timelines where, you know, they made different decisions. But, I mean, you can't argue with success. Men in Black, it really connected with audiences.
Big time.
Oh, yeah. And you know what? Speaking of that, did you know that when this movie came out, it actually, like, changed the game for how Hollywood approached those big summer blockbuster movies?
Really? Yeah, I never thought about it like that. I know it was huge, but how so?
Well, okay, so before Men in Black hit the scene, those big summer movies, they were all about action and spectacle.
Yeah.
Like, think Independence Day,
Yeah.
Jurassic Park. Like, those were the biggies. But Men in Black, it was like it proved that you could have all that crazy action, but also, like, a lot of humor, you know, and heart. You could actually care about these characters.
Right. Like they found the magic formula or something.
They totally cracked the code. And then, I mean, you look at movies like Guardians of the Galaxy, Thor, Ragnarok even. Those movies, they took that Men in Black blueprint.
Right, that mix of humor, action, heart.
Exactly. And they ran with it. Men in Black showed Hollywood that audiences wanted more than just explosions, you know.
Right.
They wanted characters they could connect with and stories that had some actual emotional depth.
And Men in Black totally delivers on that while still bringing those awesome action sequences and memorable creatures. And speaking of the creatures, can we just take a moment to appreciate how well those practical effects hold up?
Oh my gosh, it's true. I mean, Rick Baker.
The best.
He and his team, they're geniuses. I mean, they created something so special. Those aliens, they feel so real, so tangible. It's a real testament to the art of practical effects, you know?
Yes, 100%.
Yeah.
I feel like even today, CGI still struggles sometimes to capture that same feeling.
It's true.
Like that weight, that presence
I know.
that you get with practical.
Oh, yeah.
Like even that scene where they peel back the farmer's skin to reveal the bug underneath.
Oh, so gross.
So good, though. But, like, the way they did it, the texture, the movement, like, it's visceral. I don't think CGI could ever truly capture that.
It's true. There's just something about practical effects, even when what you're seeing is totally crazy, like an alien cockroach.
Yeah.
It just feels more real.
It does.
You know what I mean? Like, it tricks your brain into thinking, oh, yeah, this could happen, which makes it even creepier.
Totally. It's like those old school monster movies.
Yeah.
You know, the ones that were all practical effects.
You best.
They might look a little cheesy now.
Right.
But there's just something so charming about them.
I know.
It's like magical almost.
Absolutely.
It goes beyond just the technical limitations.
I think it's about striking that balance.
Yeah.
You know, between, like, the spectacle, blowing everyone's minds with crazy visuals, but also, like, the substance.
Right.
Making sure the story is grounded, making sure you care about the characters, the emotions, all of that.
Right.
And Men in Black, I mean, they just nailed it.
They really did. Men in Black is one of those movies that works on so many levels. Funny, action-packed, but surprisingly thoughtful, too. You know,
Yeah,
it's a movie that you could totally just sit back and enjoy,
totally.
but there's also a lot going on beneath the surface, if you want to dig a little deeper.
Exactly. I mean, I think that's why people still love this movie.
For sure.
It stood the test of time. Decades later, people are still watching it and enjoying it because there's something in it for everyone. It reminds us that a good story is timeless, no matter how much technology changes.
That's a great point.
Yeah.
Okay, so if you had to sum up what makes Men in Black such a classic in like just a few words, what would you say?
Oh man, that's tough. But I think it's that perfect blend of humor, heart, and like mind-blowing sci-fi.
Yeah, like that.
It takes you on an adventure, you laugh, you think, and then you walk away just kind of like in awe of the universe and where we fit into it all.
Well said. It's been so fun digging into Men in Black with you.
This was fun. I always love revisiting a classic and finding new things to appreciate about it.
Me too. And to everyone listening, I hope this deep dive gave you a new appreciation for Men in Black too. The artistry, the humor, and just how awesome this movie still is. Thinking about it, like all this stuff we've been talking about, right?
Yeah.
The casting, the effects, how they just blend the humor and those deeper themes.
Right.
It really makes you wonder, like, what would a Men in Black movie made today, like right now? What would that even look like?
That's a good question.
I mean, could they capture that same magic?
Great.
With all the CGI they use now,
Yeah.
with those aliens, like, hit the same way if they weren't, practical, if they were just on a computer screen.
Yeah.
Something to think about.
It really is.
I mean, back then, Rick Baker and his team, they were pushing the limits of practical effects,
Totally.
and it gave the movie this look, this feel that you just don't see as much anymore. Like, would a studio even try that today? I don't know.
It's a different world.
I know. Think about that scene where the farmer's skin gets peeled back and it's the bug.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's creepy.
That's so creepy.
But it's so good. The way they did it, like the texture, the way it moves, it just feels real,
It's so effective.
I don't think CGI could ever really replicate that feeling.
I agree.
It's like there's this rawness to practical effects.
Yeah.
Even when what you're seeing is totally bonkers.
Right.
Like a giant alien cockroach. It just, I don't know, it sells it more, makes it scarier almost.
Oh, absolutely. There's just something about practical effects that just taps into that, like, primal fear response. It's like, oh, this could actually happen, and it just gets under your skin.
Exactly. It's like those old monster movies that were all practical effects. They might look a little hokey now,
Right.
but there's this charm to them.
Oh, I know.
It's like they're more imaginative because of the limitations. You know what I mean?
Totally. It's like they had to work with what they had, and it forced them to be more creative.
Yeah.
I think it's about finding that sweet spot, that balance between, like, going all out with the spectacle,
Yeah.
the big flashy effects, but also making sure there's enough substance.
Right. The story, the characters.
Exactly. Making sure the audience cares about what's happening, connects with the characters.
And Men in Black just, like, nails that balance.
They really did. They found that sweet spot, and it worked.
Totally. I mean, that's why it's still so great.
It's
Right?
just timeless.
It's a movie you can watch over and over again
Oh, absolutely.
and always find something new to enjoy.
Totally.
It's funny, it's exciting, it actually makes you think, too, which is cool.
Right. It's not just a dumb action movie. It has something to say, and I think that's one of the reasons it's endured.
Yeah, for sure.
It's a smart movie that doesn't forget to be entertaining, and that's a rare combination.
Couldn't have said it better myself. Well, this was awesome. I always love geeking out about Men in Black.
Me too. It's a classic for a reason.
For real. And to everyone listening, we hope you enjoyed this little deep dive into Men in Black as much as we did. It's a movie that deserves to be celebrated.